First of all, got to show the obligatory disclaimer slide because I am going to show you some bleeding edge stuff, some conceptual things. So again, please don't copy or forward on. So this is really, getting to the nub of time series and why it's so significant. So the key thing here is that just like we saw on the previous page, these use cases can be rolled up into full campaigns because they're based on the bot's hierarchy. You can pivot from collecting information from users. You can branch those surveys, those bots based on the rating or the feedback that the user gave, and you can jump immediately into capturing empirical information, helping to resolve the user, performing diagnostics, and you can actually track those metrics and store them at the same time. Store them at the same time as you capture that from the user. And layered on top of that, you've also got the ability then to leverage generative AI to be able to take the top level takeaway. So let me jump out of the slide for a moment and we can actually jump in and maybe show an example of this. I'm just going to go and log in on here to my test tenant here. And we'll go and have a look at the survey. It's a bit easier to see in the product than it is from the slides. So I'm going to go into my bots here. I'm going to go into my survey bots, and I can go and look at something like maybe the device performance survey. It'd be a good one in here. And so on this one, if I go and have a look behind the scenes, what I'm doing on this one is I am going and capturing a rating from users. So this is where we're building out the team's interaction with the user. So this is where we're kind of asking that initial question. And the goal here is for it to be a really lightweight experience for the user to be able to vote on it. So you can choose, in this case, I've got 3 emojis. I might choose radio buttons or stars if I want that kind of experience. How many do I want to do it out of? So this is all really just down to preference and how granular we want those results to be, whether you want 0 or not, to allow users to sit on the fence, whether it should be a net promoter score, which also dictate how we kind of roll up the results from there as well. But the idea here is you're just asking the user to rate something, some aspect of their experience. So you could say if the user scored under 50%, go down this path or down this path. In this case, we're just capturing some sentiment. So what this sentiment stage is doing is asking the user, well, why did you give that rating? And we're asking what we're doing is we're parenting it with that above question. We're asking the user another follow-up question saying any suggestions for improvements. So these are great use cases because, again, this is going to render an open text box for the user to be able to type back a free form response. And if we think about we're going to push this out to tens of thousands of users, that's going to be a lot of free text responses. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But the other thing we're going to do is capture some empirical information from those devices. And this is really where the time series component starts to come in. So in this case, I'm using the battery health because that's a great way of getting the chassis, make and model, CPU usage. We're going to pull in information about the top process. And then what I'm doing is I'm using variables. Variables are just a great way of being able to concatenate different results together or to put them into a human readable. So in this case, I'm taking the make and I'm taking the model and concatenating together, which will make it good to post-process when I want to compare the performance of different models. I've got the CPU usage in there and I can put a friendly label on it. And then we have this new stage called survey metadata, which is where I'm storing these time series attributes. So this could have been from these queries that I put in. It could also be bot inputs. So again, if I'm triggering surveys from an API and I want to pass in other external information and have that stored as time series within the survey, this is a way of choosing what data gets stored alongside these ratings and sentiments that the user provides. So, okay, so that's the configuration side. Now, to make that make more sense, let's go back to the survey results. And this is, again, where I'm seeing this time series. It's not terribly exciting view this one. I've only run this test one a few times just to generate some results in here. But what you'll see is, first of all, I have this overall rating. So this is just showing me the impact over time. I can go if I want and I can expand out the questions underneath. I can see the individual question makeups in there and I can see the free-form text responses. So what I can also do is I can choose my granularity. So if I want to see, well, okay, that's daily, doesn't make a lot of help. I want to compare month on month. I want to compare year on year. So again, as I kind of change these things, it's going to pivot the results. I can also go and say, well, let's have a look at the last 30 days instead. Let's go and have a look at the last 7 days. Nothing in there, and it's going to pivot all the results in there, or I can go and compare a given time range. So great way to be able to click in. If I also see, well, hang on, I got 60% there and only got 33% there. If I go and click in, it's going to then filter down all of the results underneath and let me read all of the free-form feedback around there. So that is the first aspect from a time series perspective. So the other aspect then on that one is, I can unselect that one now to bring up all the data, is what we call split on metadata. So actually, before I get to that, I'll just talk about the filters, because the filters are really, really powerful as well. So a little bit hidden away in there. Again, welcome any feedback you have on the UI and exploring this. But what the filters do is, again, this might be a survey you put out to the whole estate. And one of the really important aspects of being able to post-process this is to be able to compare apples and oranges, to be able to narrow things down and be able to understand patterns in the data. So one way of doing that is with filters. So what you can do with filters, you can click Create New. And now what you can do is you can go and browse the whole selection of attributes that we pull in from the combination of connectors and inventory. So you can go and click into these and build out filter sets just like you build dynamic groups. But we also have the metadata available in here as well. So you've got your batteries, your CPU usage and things like that. So if I wanted to just filter the results based on Apple or Microsoft or things like that, or use that concatenated example of make and model and only show the results for X, Y, Z, I can go and do that with filters. So the other thing I can do is I can split the results. So in here, I'll just choose something like CPU usage. And what this will do is it'll look at the attributes that have come in, and it will, so it's a really boring data set, this one, because I've only used one device to generate these results, but it'll automatically create a line graph and show that empirical information that was captured over time. So it'll base the sentiment, but it will pivot it by the different attributes that were put in and stored with that metadata stage. So obviously then you've also got the generative AI breakdown on here as well. So what this is doing is taking the hundreds of bits of feedback that might have come back from free-form text, and it is giving you, so they were the questions we asked, suggestions for improvement, why have you given that rating, and then it's giving me the executive summary based on that, and it's also giving me these topics, so I can hover over and it'll give me the full suggestions in here, things I should try and improve, and things that explain why the user gave the rating. So again, they're color coded based on sentiment, because we're doing sentiment analysis on these as well. And if you want to learn more about that, you can click on that. It puts a little tick in it, and it's going to then show you the ratings and the individual free-form responses that talk to those given points. So again, as I click through these things, so someone was quite happy with speed, so I can click on speed, and you can see there were kind of more results that came in, and people were generally happy with that. So that is, I guess the answer to the time series aspect today. The other one, maybe just to touch on in there, if I show, let me see, people survey might be a good one. There's a bit more data in here, so just to show a better view of the split. This is one where, in this one, this is a bot that's in the people context. This is where we're able to, again, go and rather than target the device, this one we're actually targeting the people. We have a different set of attributes available to be able to pass in things like the person's department, their location, their job title. So the premise behind this is we can apply more organizational context to this to be able to post-process those results and understand, well, if we're asking the user a generic question like, what's your experience with remote work, like we've got within here, again, to start to make sense of these results, we might want to split by the person's departments. And this is where you're going to start to get a bit of a split. Now, this looks a little bit like spaghetti because we're still working on a granularity of probably daily. If we start to change this into monthly trends, then it starts to look a little bit more consistent in here. So obviously I've not run this survey for a little while, which is why those are tailing back. But you can, start to understand which departments are getting better, which are getting worse. And again, with the filter sets, I think I've built some filter sets out in this one. You can say, well, let's go and have a look at manufacturing. And then this is going to, narrow me down onto manufacturing. Maybe I can deselect that one and go and, well, let's go and have a look at retail. So again, I can go and have a look at retail and go and explore the responses from there as well. So that is, I guess, what I'd say are phase one from a time series perspective. Now, what we did also GA this week, in fact, is our next gen dashboard experience. So we have our dashboard designer in here. So this initially has the device's data store within here. So it's a very powerful ability to go and get access to more data to start building out custom dashboards, which replaces the previous experience that we had. So the current data set that we have within here is the devices experience. We are going to be pulling in more data sources in the future, and we're in a exploration stage to again look at how we can intersect our bots experience with this as well. So that's kind of a further range, a longer range item. So again, certainly welcome any use cases or ideas around that. Okay, so moving on then. So here's another question, which is around sustainability and green IT. So this is a request that is increasingly coming up and is an increasing focus for many organizations. And again, there's multiple reasons for that, and we have several technologies at disposal which can really help with driving sustainability initiatives. So I've called out some of them. So again, slightly messy slide. Apologies for that, but this really just articulates some of the ways in which that can be used. So again, we just had a look there at the survey capabilities that we have. So surveys, of course, are a great vehicle. They can be used to educate users to help drive understanding. So whether it's used for green IT, whether it's used for reinforcing security, there's many different use cases and vectors which employee engagement, different forms that it can take. So that's one idea. The other could be, for example, the ability to identify users who aren't on a suitable power plan and to be able to change that configuration to a power plan. So traditionally, that would be something that we think about from a user experience perspective. We want to maximize battery life, so we're just going to focus on mobile devices. But if you think about desktop devices as well, we can think more broadly from a sustainability perspective, energy consumption. There's again, many organizations are looking at power plans as a way to decrease the energy footprint from a broader device selection as well. So bots are one way that you could do it. Amongst others in there. We also have out-of-the-box content. There's a Lenovo odometer bot. So this is specific to certain Lenovo hardware, but that tracks things like the number of times the device has been dropped, how many times it's overheated, how many CPU cycles it's done, how many SSD read and writes. So really that is useful if we think about the lifespan of a device as it's getting near the end of the warranty. Is this be a good one to, if it's had relatively low usage and it's in good condition, it hasn't got any indicators that it may be one we want to think about replacing. Again, the longer the lifespan we can get out of assets that are performant, that's going to be a good thing from a sustainability perspective. We touched on the warranty as well. Again, devices that are coming up for warranty, if we can deal with devices that are still in warranty, action with campaigns, then we stand a better chance of being able to get more life out of that hardware, which again is great from a fiscal and a sustainability perspective too. Reimage and replace smart advisor. Again, that's geared towards being able to make recommendations based on the lifespan of the device and its available resources, whether it's going to be potentially more economically viable to reimage or replace it. And then we have edge intelligence sensors that are focused on things like energy consumption, which are you've also got login times and startup activity, and being able to get a better visibility as to which apps are really consuming energy.